All right, wonderful. Good evening, dear students. Thank you very much for being with me. Remind that we always have 5 minutes of tolerance, okay? That is the reason why we have started at this point, so that you can, of course, be part of the class. I don't want anybody to lose every single or any single second of the class, because there's a lot of material that I want to share with you. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, okay, for being with me tonight. I have already known many of you yesterday in the introductory class. I know that many of you were not able to get into, but nonetheless, don't worry, because of course, I know that yesterday you didn't have planned to assist to this class. So don't worry, yesterday we just saw some general aspects, which is spoke about some important information before we start with the important material or the actual classes in the calendar. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing tonight, okay? So thank you very much for being with me, and let's start if you want. So as I had mentioned yesterday, what we're going to be learning about today, it's about the speaking section, okay? And for many people, this section is the most complicated one. It's actually very good that we have started with this one, because it's a good manner to introduce you to the difficulty of this exam. For many people, this is the most difficult section. Why? Because they say, well, for many students of English, speaking has always traditionally been the most difficult part, right, of this language, to get a correct pronunciation, to get a good accent, to be fluent, to avoid stopping, freezing. It's something that, all of us have struggled at some point. And of course, it's difficult to maintain a good level, to maintain fluency. Now, for some people, this is also way complicated, because the speaking section in this exam does not only require you to speak, but it also puts some difficulties in your path, because they are going to give you a very, very limited time for you to speak. That is to say, you don't only need to know how to speak correctly, fluently, how to make yourself understandable to others, but you also need to do it in a very, very short time. And in advance, for example, I wanted to tell you, for this particular section, the maximum time, okay, listen to this, the maximum time you're going to have to respond to the questions in this section is going to be 1 minute, okay? 1 minute is going to be the maximum time. So you need to know how to summarize everything you could say in just 1 minute, all right? So it's going to be very interesting for you to learn all the topics and all the strategies that I have for you. And we are going to be actually dedicating this whole week to the first task of the speaking section, because there are 4 tasks, as we are going to learn right now. Of course, I have a presentation prepared for you. But just in advance, I want to tell you, there are 4 tasks in this speaking section. And for all this week, we're going to be learning about the first one, because for many people, I was actually having a personal call yesterday with one of my students. And he actually very curiously got the same scholarship that I got in 2021 from the American Embassy. And he's now having the scholarship. And he told me, Carlos, I think that the first task of the speaking section is the one that troubles me the most, because it's difficult for me to open myself and to speak about personal things to somebody who's a stranger. So I was sharing with him some tips, and it actually gives you I would say a glimpse or a hint of what this speaking task is going to look like. But nonetheless, of course, we're going to get into that. But the point is, please be ready and welcome to today's first class. And let's just start if you want. I am very excited, and I think that we're going to have a very good time learning, okay? So let me share my screen with you. And let's get into what? Into the presentation I have prepared for you. In a second, I wanted to change something here before I start this. Remind that, for example, yesterday class, it's already uploaded to our YouTube channel. The educational coordinator has already sent the link to the WhatsApp group. Actually, I think that she decided to include it as the description of the group. So that if you go to the WhatsApp group and you look at the description, you're going to find the YouTube channel where all the recorded classes are uploaded, and you can rewatch them whenever you want, okay? Now, wonderful. So I finished the thing that I wanted to correct here. Let's start, okay? Let me share my screen now. Sure. Okay, wonderful. So remind, very important to have your cameras on, okay? If you want, if you can. Let's go. Here and here. Let's go. Wonderful. So, TOEFL speaking section, okay? As I say, a very challenging task, especially for us, I think. We're starting these classes, but I'm glad that we're starting with this because this is very important. And I am glad as well that we're going to dedicate a whole week to this topic for the speaking section first task, which is, I think, going to be very much used by you. Okay, so let's get into the presentation. Now, let's share some general aspects before we move on to the first task, which is our target today. I wanted to mention that the TOEFL IBT speaking section is designed to measure your ability to speak English effectively in academic settings. Now, this is very important. It's something that I mentioned yesterday, for example, with the students who joined me in the introductory class. Something that I recommend you, or the first recommendation that I could give you actually, would be that if you are planning to improve your English for this particular exam, you are not going to do it by normal or traditional means. For example, many students have always said to me, hey teacher, I want to improve my listening by watching movies, for example. Let's say I want to go to the cinema and I want to watch movies, or just want to go to Netflix and to reproduce a movie there with subtitles in English and to watch it in English and to improve, right, my reading, my listening. And I look at them and I say, well, are you sure that a strategy is going to work? And the reason why I say that is because, the English that traditional means, especially video material, as for example, movies, series, let's say, I don't know, documentaries about famous people, Michael Jackson, I don't know, biopics, as the last movie that was released about Elvis Presley. These movies or material, they use daily English. That is to say, the characters, the people being recorded in this material, in this production, speak normal English. That is to say, the English that you could speak in the day-to-day situation, in the environment of your friends, of your family. Maybe if you have some, I don't know, some children, or if you have some sister, something that you could speak with your friends, okay? It is not the English that ETS is going to evaluate you about, or it's not the English in which you're going to be assessed. I'm sorry. This particular English, okay, the one that you're going to find on movies, the one that it is spoken in series, this is not the English that ETS is going to be evaluating you about. The English that you're going to be evaluated about is going to be academic English. That is to say, if you want to improve and to get familiarized with the content that you're going to receive in this exam, my recommendation is begin reading scientific books, begin reading about history, about astronomy, about geography, about chemistry, about technology, about art, about, I don't know, psychology. Begin watching classes, lectures given by professors in universities. There are a lot of free resources on YouTube. For example, Harvard has some classes, free classes on YouTube for that people who want to know how is it to be in that university and to take classes there. They sometimes upload, and they have some material posted there for you to watch it free. Now, by doing this, for example, or by listening to podcasts on Spotify about academic subjects, then you're going to improve your English, and that is what is going to be helpful for you. Remind that what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that you have to learn about physics, or that you have to learn about chemistry, or that you have to, I don't know, learn formulas in mathematics. No, that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you immerse yourself, okay, if you familiarize yourself, si se familiarizan with the type of English that is spoken in academic situations, the English that professors use, the English that scientific podcasts use, the English that writers in scientific and academic subjects use. For example, I don't know, scientific articles, scientific magazines, books about philosophy, books about psychology, I don't know, that type of material. is the one that is going to have the English you should improve, which is academic English. Because remind, ETS or the TOEFL, well, ETS, which is the company, of course, that organizes the TOEFL exam, it's very well known for being the best exam to show universities and companies around the world that you are going to have the necessary proficiency to develop and to perform in their institutions, okay? So this is the English you're going to be evaluated about. Learn about this English, familiarize yourself with the terminologies, with the expressions professors use, with the vocabulary that scientific articles have, with the vocabulary that psychology material has, excuse me. I mean, that is the type of material you want to make sure that you are consuming, okay? Because that is what is going to be helpful, right? So just in case for the ones that have just gotten into, we're getting right now into the speaking section, and we're just in the first general aspect of this section, which is this speaking section is designed to measure your ability to speak English effectively in academic settings, okay? Academic settings, not day-to-day settings, not family settings, not friendship settings, no, academic settings, okay? Now, this task is going to be composed of 4 different tasks, dear students, that resemble real-life situations you might encounter both in and outside of the classroom, all right? So, as I say, your speaking section is going to be divided in 4 different tasks, okay? The first task is going to be the one that we're going to be looking at the entire week. We're going to learn about it, how to approach it. We're going to practice for it a lot. So don't worry, we're going to get into that. And later, of course, we're going to get into the remaining 3 types of tasks, okay? Now, you need to know that although there are 4 tasks in the speaking section, there are just, let's say, 2 types of questions or 2 types of modalities that these tasks have, all right? The first type of question or modality for the speaking tasks is called an independent speaking task, which is very likely the one that we're going to find in the first speaking section. So for this entire week, we're going to be learning about the independent speaking task, which is the first one. Why is it called independent? Maybe many of you are asking that, right? Why is this called independent speaking task? The reason why this is called independent speaking task is because you are not going to be relying on any material that ETS gives you in order to respond. But in order to speak and give a response for this type of question, you are going to rely and use your own knowledge, your own experience, your own life, your own data, your own capacities in the sense of information you may gather in order to respond and to articulate a response to this particular type of question, okay? You are not going to be summarizing anything. You're just going to rely on you. And I wanted to say to you, because you are new, of course, in this exam, this is going to be one of the very few cases, okay, few situations in which ETS is going to say, okay, now we want to listen to your opinion. Please tell us, what do you think about this? Tell us, give us your reasons, give us your opinion, give us your arguments. Few cases. Why? Because in the entireness of the exam, most of the content or most of the things you're going to have to do are simply going to be summarizing material. That is to say, ETS is going to give you a reading passage, a listening item, and the only thing you have to do as a response is to read that, to take notes, and to use that as your response. For example, in the reading section, you simply have to read some material ETS proposes you, and you have to read and respond some questions with regard to that. You don't have to add anything to the material. That is to say, you don't have to complement anything with your own knowledge, with your own capacities, with your own data. No. For example, in the listening section, it's the same. You don't have to add anything you may know. You simply listen to some conversations and you respond about the conversations you received there. Or for example, if you are in the writing section, majoritarily or most of the time, you're going to have simply to write down an essay summarizing materials, okay? So you're going to notice most of the time in the exam, what you're going to have to do is to summarize things and simply to use that information as your response. In this case, for the independent speaking task of the first task of the speaking section, you are going to have the opportunity to deliver, to express your opinion, to respond to a question, which I'm going to show you, of course, with your own experience, with your own knowledge, with your own data. Okay. Now, from questions 2 to questions 4, or from the second task to the fourth task, you're going to have something that is called the integrated speaking task. Okay. This is not independent anymore. Integrated speaking task. Now, why is this called integrated speaking task? The reason is super simple. Integrated means simply that in this case, ETS is going to give you material, okay? They're going to give you, for example, a reading passage and a listening item. You're going to read something, let's say about a scientific discovery, and then you're going to listen to a class given by a professor on the same topic. You're going to listen, you're going to read, you're going to take notes on both materials, you're going to make a summary, and that summary is going to be your response. As you can notice, in this case, you are depending on the material that ETS gives you. You are depending on the material that the exam proposes you. You are not depending on you to respond, but on the material they give you. You simply have to summarize and to come back that information to them by simply summarizing. Okay? You're going to notice that is the difference. That in the other case, you depend on you to respond, on your own knowledge, your own experience, your own life. In the other cases, you simply have to summarize what they have told you to do, okay? It's no more than that. Now, throughout the entire section, your students, you will be required to write down some notes in order to organize and plan your responses. For those of you who were present yesterday, we talked about this a lot. Why is it important to take notes? Is it possible to take notes in the exam? How can I do it? How does it vary in the different types of or modalities in this exam? Everything was discussed yesterday. Now, of course, as I say, you can go to the WhatsApp group, look at the description, and in the description, you're going to find the link to the YouTube channel in which this class has been already updated, okay? Or already updated or uploaded. So the idea is go there, rewatch it, and you're going to be able to find why is this super important. Now, of course, as a matter of simply refreshing your mind and giving you a very short glance, you're going to have the opportunity to take notes during the entire section. And for this particular, during the entire test, that's what I mean. And for this particular section, because remember there are 4 different sections in the entire exam, the exam is going to last for 3 hours and a half, and there are 4 different sections in which you're going to be evaluated: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So, as I say, throughout the entire exam, you're allowed to take notes if you are taking the IBT version on a normal sheet of paper that ETS members are going to give you when you arrive to your test center, or alternatively, if you are taking the home IBT version, if you don't want to move on and you don't want to go out to take the exam and you want to take it at home, well, you can do it. But the difficulty is that you're going to have to write down your notes on a whiteboard, on a desktop whiteboard, una pizarra blanca. You're going to have to get that and to write down your responses and your notes there, because of course you are not going to be able to have sheet of papers as the material for you to write down your notes. Okay, everything was discussed yesterday. I please redirect you there to the class that we have uploaded already to that YouTube channel. Okay, if you want to know more about that, please go there. Now, very important. Okay, so you are going to take notes. So please, from tomorrow on, make sure to have piece of papers with you. Make sure to have pencils, pens, because we're going to be using notes, taking notes about different material in order to respond. Okay, now let's continue. Oh, by the way, is there any question about anything that I have mentioned until this point about the general aspects of this section? Maybe I can help you with something, I can clarify something. Please tell me. I'm going to be super glad to respond to your question. Anything that I can help you with until this point? Or we're fine.
Everything is clear. Thank you.
I have a question. On the
Yes?
independent speaking task, you can also write your something to tell or write something to speak or like a note, like I don't know, something like that, or is just something that is gonna happen in that moment, something that they're gonna ask you like improve. I don't know if I say it well.
Yes.
That's
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lucia. Yeah, very good questions as you used to. Actually, we're going to get into all that. But responding quickly, yes, you're going to have a preparation time. You're going to have 15 seconds to prepare a response for the first task. And beginning from the second task to the fourth one, you're going to have 30 seconds to prepare responses. And what is going to somehow disappoint you, I think, is the fact that you're going to have just 45 seconds to deliver your response in the first task. And for the other tasks, it's going to be just 1 minute. Okay, so the timing for responding and for preparing the response is super short and super limited. Okay, but indeed, you have some time. As I say, for the first task, as we are going to understand way more clear when we get into the first task and to the other tasks. Yeah, you do have time for preparing a response, and you also have time for delivering. Okay, so it's not going to be super spontaneous. They're going to give you, of course, some time for you to plan a response and to have it elaborated. Okay, don't worry about that.
Okay, thank you. Some little time, but no pressure,
Yes,
right?
yes, no pressure. Yeah, no, certainly. I mean, as I say, it's like that is what troubles people. That is what troubled me as well at the beginning. To know how to include everything you want to say in just 1 minute. It's a very, very hazardous and assiduous work, and you need to practice a lot in order to know how to do it. So yeah, you're right. It's not pressure, but you need to know you need to know that you're not going to have more than 1 minute to respond to these questions. But of course, I'm going to teach you how to do it. Don't worry, it's fine. Okay, let's move on. Now, I have some general aspects as well here that I wanted to mention, which are super necessary for you to approach this section correctly. Okay, this is nailing the speaking section 101. Let's move on. I have some recommendations for you. The first thing, I'm going to talk to you about what are going to be your best friends and your allies during this section. Let me tell you about the headphones. For this section, your best ally is going to be the headphones. The ones you're going to receive will be the traditional headphones with a microphone included. Now, remind your students, of course, in this speaking section, you're going to speak, right? And sadly, there is not going to be somebody besides you listening to your response and qualifying in that precise moment or instantaneously. No, what is going to happen is that your response is going to be recorded. Of course, that is the reason why you're taking the exam through a computer. Now, what type of headphones are you going to receive that day? You're going to receive the generic headphones, okay? These are a couple or a pair of headphones that you're going to likely receive no matter where you live, okay? These are the generic headphones. ETS requires test centers to help to hold and to have prepared for their test takers and recipients. So you're going to find this when you arrive to the place and when you receive your computer, they're going to give you a couple of this. Okay. Now, when you receive your pair of headphones, something very important for you is that you need to make sure that you are putting them on correctly. Okay. And to get the mic near your mouth with the due space for you to speak. Remind that this microphone, of course, has this microphone incorporated there in one of the sides of this device. Now, some people like, for example, I have seen this myself. Some people like to have the microphone too near their mouth. For example, they like to attach it here to their cheek. And that is the way they like to speak, with the microphone here, basically touching their lips. Is that correct? Well, it's not. Why? Because, of course, remind you want to make sure that your speaking performance is being well recorded, because as I say, the computer is going to record your speaking performance, and then some days afterwards, a reviewer is going to listen to your recording, and he's going to say, okay, well, with regard to what I listened, I give to this student 25 out of 25, right? Because remind, every single section in the TOEFL exam is scored, actually 30 out of 30. The maximum note or score that you can get in every section in the TOEFL exam is 30 out of 30. And if you sum up everything, of course, as I told you yesterday, the maximum note to get in this exam is 120, the minimum 0. Okay, so 4 tasks or 4 different sections, every one or every single one of them, it's somehow evaluated in 30 points, the maximum, that is the top. So you can get or 30 or 0 and something in the middle of that. Okay, so a reviewer is going to listen to your recording, and of course you want to make sure that he gives you a 30, right? Or something approximate to it. Now, how are you going to make sure that he is going to be able to understand you? Well, by giving him a good recording. How are you going to do that? Please make sure that your microphone has a considerable distance to your mouth, okay? Because if you attach the microphone, as you can see here, too near your cheek, what's going to happen is that sometimes we make some noises when we speak, right? Like, for example, those noises, of course, are annoying. So if you want to make sure that your reviewer is not annoyed by your noise, and also if you want to make sure that he understands you correctly, in a good volume, in a good manner, in the sense of allowing you to speak comfortably, well, make sure to have the microphone in 3-5 seconds separated for your mouth, and of course, giving some space to your mouth for you to speak to the microphone. Of course, as I say, not attached to your cheek, but with a due separation for you to speak, but having, of course, the microphone directed to your mouth so that you can have everything recorded, okay? That is the correct position of the microphone. Now, the headphones will additionally be adaptable to your head size, very important, okay? So make sure to adjust them in a manner proper for you to have them near your mouth, but firm in your head. This is super important. Now, look at the picture here. As you can see here in this part, in the corner more or less of the headphones, they have a mechanism here that allows you to expand and to decrease the size of the headphone. So depending on your head size, for example, in my case, it's super big. So I have always to expand the headphones and to make sure that it is well fitting my head. So that, for example, if you are speaking or if you have your headphones on, if you want to scratch your ear or something, if you make this movement, right, this silent movement with your hand, you are not going to tear it down, or worse, you're going to move it, or you're going to disconnect it from your computer. The worst case. The idea is to have it firm in your head, or excuse me, and yes, and also having considerable distance as well with the microphone, as I mentioned. Okay, so having it firm on your head, and also please make sure that the microphone, as I say, after your head and your headphones are firm, to have it in a considerable distance for you to speak. 3-5 centimeters are going to do just fine. Okay, so please make sure that you have all these qualities very well arranged when you have the opportunity to put them on and you can be comfortable while speaking. All right. Now, third thing, maybe this is going to disappoint many of you and it's going to be sad, but let me tell you this. As we continue with the pandemic, okay, according to the World Health Organization, of course, it is very possible that the test centers, okay, if you are taking the IVT version or the PVT version, of course, if you are taking the home IVT version, this is not going to apply to you. If you're taking the IVT version or the PVT version, these modalities of the test are still going to require you to wear a mask even for this section. So make sure the mask you wear on that day is comfortable for you to move your mouth and speak. Now, this is super interesting. ETS requires you to have a mask on during the entire exam. There's not going to be a single point in the exam in which you're going to be able to take out your mask. Of course, apart from the moments in which you're going to have your 10 minutes break, you can go out and maybe there you can take it off and drink water, eat something, but that is the only point. Later, within the room, when you are sat down with your computer in front of you with people besides you, you are not able to take your mask off. Okay, they are going to punish you if you do. So make sure that the mask you're going to wear on that day is comfortable for you, not only for the entire section, but especially for this one, because for this section, they are not going to allow you to take it off, not even for this section. Okay, so for example, let me tell you about my experience. When I took the exam the first time with a traditional mask, this clinical masks, the ones that doctors anyways use in order to operate people, normal ones, right? And I found that that was not very much convenient for me because I felt how my lips touched the mask and I just felt uncomfortable. And second time I took the exam, I decided to use another mask. And I used, for example, the one that has this triangular form, that ends like a triangle, right? Like a nose, like a triangle. And the advantage for me with this mask is that it gives you some space from your lips to the top of the mask. And that allowed me to move my mouth, my lips comfortably, because this language is super facial, right? Super, you have to make a lot of gestures, so you are always moving your lips, your tongue very much, expressing a lot of things. So it didn't, the first type of mask, the clinical one, did not allow me to do that. Maybe for you it's more comfortable. This is of course something personal, a matter of preference. In my case, it was way convenient to use the other type of mask, as I say, this triangular form, right? I think you recognize it super clearly. So make sure that you wear a mask that allows you to speak comfortably, okay? Because you're not even going to be allowed to take it off during this part of the exam, okay? So please consider that. Try to make some, I don't know, some tests by your own. Try to get one of these headphones and try to use it and to see if you are comfortable, for example, with the first type of mask, with the second type of mask, or I don't know, try to find your comfort there, okay? Now, finally, you are not going to be allowed to have a water bottle with you in your test room, okay? Make sure to drink enough water and to hydrate your throat appropriately. Remind, how is this exam organized? The exam is organized in the following way. Remind that this exam is going to last for approximately 3 hours and a half. And the exam is organized in 4 sections, as I mentioned. The first section you're going to confront when you start the exam is going to be the reading section. After that, you're going to move immediately to the listening section without any rest. After you finish the listening section, you're going to move on to the break time, okay? You're just going to have 10 minutes for your break. You're going to be allowed to get out of the room. Of course, in the test center, you choose if you're taking the PBT or the IBT version. There's going to be a bathroom available for test takers. You can go to the bathroom. You can drink water there. You can eat there if you have brought something with you in your school bag or something. You can do anything. You can stretch, you can run if you want, whatever helps you to somehow appease your nerves. The point is that when you come back within the room, you're not allowed to get and to bring with you any material or anything. For example, you want to drink or you want to bring with you a water bottle you just bought. Not possible. They're just going to take that out of you and they are going to save it for you until you finish the exam and you go out again. Within the test room, the only thing you can have with you is your knowledge. You are not even allowed to get into the room sheets of papers, pencils, pens, erasers, anything, because all the material you need to take the exam, including sheets of papers, including erasers, including pencils, pens, whatever you may need, the staff members from ETS who are always going to be walking throughout the room where the computers are going to be located, they are going to be there for you to provide anything you may need. You just raise your hand. Remind, they are going to explain you this anyways on that day, but if you require or need something from any of the staff members of ETS, you just have to raise your hand. Please don't scream. Don't say, hey, help me. I mean, you're going to, of course, perturb the other test takers. You just raise your hand silently. Somebody's going to come and help you. Okay? So, as I say, and this is very relevant for the water bottle because many people during the exam in this 15 minutes of the speaking, because remind, the speaking section is the shortest one. It is just 15 minutes and the other sections basically last for more than 2 hours, but this is the shortest one. Many people experience, I don't know, a dry throat because they are nervous or maybe because they didn't drink enough water. So make sure that you are drinking enough water to hydrate your throat appropriately, because then you're not going to be able to go out again until you finish the exam, and nobody is going to make you the favor to give you a water bottle or to introduce anything for you. Okay? Any question with regard to this general aspects I have mentioned? Anything that I could clarify? We're fine. Anything you may ask, tell me.
Everything
We can
clear,
help you.
but I think that obviously you cannot get in with your phone, right?
Oh no, actually not.
Yeah.
Not even that. I mean, when I
Nothing.
say
Okay.
nothing, nothing. Like as
Nothing.
I say, fortunately, there are people, there are staff members from ETS, and they are going to ask you everything: cell phone, your, I don't know if you have your let's say your wallet, if you have
Uh,
some notebooks, everything, and they
okay.
are going to save it. Okay, don't worry, they are going
Okay.
to
Yeah,
look for it.
that's clear,
Yeah,
sir.
wonderful, wonderful to see. So as I say, it's like nobody, I mean, don't worry that nobody's going to steal you. I am conscious that they always take care of that because of course you have your things of your own personal things there. So they have a special team for taking care of those things. But anything it's allowed within the room, okay? Not even a pen, okay? The most simple thing, right? A pen. What can you do with a pen? Can you cheat with that? Of course you cannot, but they are so tough and rigid with this policy that they do not even allow you to get into the computation room with your own pen. They are going to be the ones giving you a pen for you to use it, okay? So they are super jealous with this policy. Trust me that if I say don't even try to get into the room with anything because they are going to notice it, okay? That is the idea. All right, so any other question, any other thing that I can clarify? We're fine until this point. We can move on. All right, wonderful. Let's move on then. Now, quick hacks for this section. Okay, this is something personal. Okay, when I'm telling you, it's something that it is not in any book. Okay, this is something that I learned because of my experience, but it's a hack that in my experience has been tremendously useful, and of course that I want to share with you. Okay, listen to what I say. Now, remind. I want to say some things before I tell you this more elaborately. First thing, remind that after you finish your listening section, remind the exam is organized in the following way: reading section, listening section, break of 10 minutes, speaking section, writing section. After you finish the listening section, there's going to be a message on your screen that is going to say, okay, now please go out of the room. Your 10 minutes break have begun. When you see that on your screen, you know, okay, now it's my time for me to stand up and you can go out, okay? After you finish the listening section, you're going to receive that message on your computer. Please, it's your time for the 10 minutes break, stand up, go out, okay? Then if you read that, you know that you have to go out, okay? You should not stay there because these 10 minutes are very important. So you go out. First thing, okay? Now, second, you have 10 minutes for having a break. Yes, you do. But notice this. It is not mandatory, that is to say, it is not obligatory for you to use the entire 10 minutes, okay? Nobody is forced to use the entireness of the 10 minutes. Some people I have seen in my own experience, they simply go out, they stretch a little bit, they drink a little bit of water, and they come back. And they don't even use 2 minutes of their 10 minutes break. Is that legal? Can that be done? Yes, you can. You go there, you stretch a little bit, you drink water, you come back. You just use 2 minutes of your 10 minutes break. Can you do that? Yes, you can do that. Now, that is the second point, right? Now, third point. When you come back, okay, to the computation room and you sit down again with your computer, the speaking section is not going to immediately start. Okay, listen to what I say. The speaking section is not going to immediately start. Why? Because on your computer, when you come back, you're going to discover that there is going to be a message on your computer that is going to say, press this button to move on to the speaking section. Okay, listen to what I say. Press this button to move on to the speaking section. If you don't press that button, you can be sat there in your seat as much time as you want, because if you don't press the button that says continue to the speaking section, press this button to move on to the speaking section, well, the computer is going to remain like that and you're not going to be starting with your speaking section. Of course, there is a limit. I'm not aware how much is the limit. Maybe it's like 5-6 minutes after you have come back. I don't know, okay? It's not possible to know it because there is no chronometer there. Simply, it says, press this button to move on. If you don't press it, and if you exceed the time, it is going to take you directly to the speaking section. Okay, if you don't press it, it's like the computer, it's saying, okay, well, you don't want to press the button, I take you to the speaking section. So it's gonna take you, and the menu is gonna change, and of course, you're gonna be facing now the speaking section. Wonderful. But anyways, you can wait there for a considerable time. I'm gonna tell you my experience. Wait a minute. So, not or now that you know all those things, there's something else that I want you to know. As I was mentioning, the difficulty for this section is not only that you have a super limited time, as Lucia was mentioning. It's not just that, or it's not that you're going to have a lot of pressure. No, it's not that you're going to have nerves, that you're going to be super nervous. It's not just that. But if you're taking the IBT version or the PBT version, that means that you're going to have people who is going to be besides you taking the exam with you. For example, somebody is going to be in your right arm, another person is going to be in your left arm, somebody is going to be in front of you, behind you, all of them, of course, sat in their own computers. But the point is that normally you're going to find yourself with 10, let's say 10 more persons or 10 more individuals, okay, 10 more individuals taking the exam. They're test takers. They have paid for their exam. They are taking it just as you are. Now, in the speaking section, of course, everybody wants to have the recording well done, well established, so that the reviewer can later evaluate your performance. And what does that mean? That everybody is going to speak loudly, of course, because when we want to make ourselves understood, what do we do? Well, of course, we speak loudly, right? We try to make a good intonation. We don't speak low. And why? We don't speak loudly because we want to avoid people saying, hey, please, could you speak a little bit higher? I don't understand you, right? The same is going to apply here. So you're going to experience that everybody is going to be almost screaming. People are going to speak very loudly, okay? So maybe that could, what? That could annoy you. Because imagine you could, for example, be in the speaking section, and given that everybody starts almost at the same time, you're going to have to listen, or you're going to listen to what other people say, because of course, although you're going to have headphones, those headphones do not isolate, let us say, all the noise that is going to be within the room. You're still going to listen to what other people say, especially because, as I mentioned, they almost scream because they want to have their recording well done, well established. Now, that could distract you. That has happened to many people. Okay, it happened to me the first time I took the exam. Now, the second time I took the exam, I learned this hack. That now that you know all this information, those were the elementary points, I can share with you the hack. Now, listen to me. Remind, once you finish the listening section, there's going to be a message on your screen that says, well, your listening section has ended. Now, please stand up and go to your 10 minutes break. You stand up, you go out. You're going to notice that everybody else is going to do the same, right? Everybody else is going to stand up and they're going to go to the break. Okay, now you are in the break. What's going to happen? You are in the break and you're going to notice, this is super interesting. Most of the test takers, most of the people who take the exam, they don't even use half of their 10 minutes break. They conform themselves with 3, 4, sometimes 6, 5 minutes. They go to the bathroom, they wash their face, they drink water, they eat something, they have brought something with them, they stretch. I mean, they just do normal things, right? And at some point, they just get bored and they want to come back. And as I say, the majority of the people just go back to the computation room, not using the entire 10 minutes. What this means is that when they get into the computation room, what people also normally do, okay, once they sit down, is that they immediately press the button that says continue to the speaking section. Press this button to move on to the speaking section. Maybe because many of them are not aware that they can wait. They can wait for some time if they don't want to start at that precise moment or instantaneously. They could wait, but many people, maybe because they are anxious, super nervous, they would just want to continue and finish this, right? This mess. They just want to get out of there because they are nervous and they just want to finish all this pressure. Now, these 2 points are key elements. Why? Remind, people normally don't use their 10 minutes break. And once they get into the computation room, they immediately start and press the button that says continue and move on to the speaking section. They do all those things by experience, I tell you, and not just because I have lived this, because I know people, a lot of people who have taken this exam, and they tell me the same, that Normally, test takers don't want to use the 10 minutes break, although it could seem irrational to you, but they don't use it. You're going to experience it by yourself. So what does this provoke? What does this create for you? It creates an opportunity for you to take advantage of the situation. Why? Because now that you know that you can use your 10 minutes, okay, your straight 10 minutes, you can try to be the last person to get into the computation room after your break is over. Try to be the last person to get into the room. Why? Because if you are the last person to get into the room, you are going to sit down in front of your computer. You're not even going to press the button that says move to the speaking section, and you can listen to what other test takers are speaking. Because remind, most of the people already start the section once they sit down. The first thing they do is they press the button and they move on. They don't wait. So you just can sit down and you can listen to what other people say without pressing the button. Is that legal? You may ask. Yes, it is, of course. It's not against the rules. No, it's for a reason, right? That they have included that button, that if you don't want to start, you just sit there. And of course, you're not going to cover your ears. You're going to listen to what other people say. So what did I do when I took the exam? The second time I took the exam, I took it with people that I knew, okay? Because I was part of a program of a scholarship from the American Embassy. So I had practiced with some other scholars from the American Embassy. We had practiced together, we had been together, and we took the exam together. So I knew then I could recognize their voices. So they got into the room before I got into. And when I got into, I sat down and I listened to what they were speaking. That was legal. I didn't start my section because I didn't press the button. So I just listened. And I listened to their voices and I noticed that they were speaking about vacations. The three of them, because they were in their first task. I listened to what they said, to what they spoke, and I noticed that them were speaking about vacations, as I say. So I began to think, okay, if they are speaking about vacation, because remind, the topics of the speaking section and all the other sections for the reading section, the listening section, the writing section are the same for all the test takers. It is not, for example, that for your computer, it is a completely different material. No, no, no. The computer besides you has different material. No, it's the same material, the same topics, the same reading passages, the same listening items. So I started to listen to what they were speaking, and I listened to them because I recognized their voices. They were speaking about vacations. So I began to think, okay, if the question is about vacations, because obviously if they were speaking about vacations, the three of them, it was because the question had to be about vacations, right? So I thought, okay, if they are going to ask me about vacations, that is to say that the exam is going to ask me about vacations, what could the question possibly be about? And I thought, well, I mean, if you're going to ask me about vacations, what could you ask? If I would like to go to vacations, or where would I like to go for vacations? Those are the only two possible questions that I managed to think about. If I would like to get vacations, or if I had the chance to go to vacations, where would I like to go? Those were the only two questions that I could think about. And given that I had not started my section until that point, and given that I had some sheet of papers, because remind, you can raise your hand and somebody's going to come and is going to give you a sheet of papers, I began to write down with that extra time I had. If they ask me about this, what could I respond? And I began to plan my response. And when I got bored, because I got bored, I mean, I just wanted to move on to the section to finish this. I pressed the button, and guess what? The question was just what I thought it would be. It was about where would I like to go to have vacations? Where would I like to go to have vacations? And given that I had already planned my response, I could respond to it super smoothly, calmly, and went just great, right? So of course I then move on to the other sections. And there is where the second advantage of this technique or hack comes. That when you are, okay, remind that you are the last person to get into the room, right? And likely or probably, you're going to be the last person to start a speaking section. So when you are in your first task, the other people are going to be in their third task. And when you are in your second task, they will already finish the exam, or that is to say the section. In that point, they will probably have already finished the exam. And if they have, you are not going to listen to anybody speaking because everything, or excuse me, everybody has already finished. So you are going to be the only one speaking in the entire room. And additionally, you are going to be the one annoying others because the others are going to be writing down their essays for the writing section, because after the speaking section, the writing section comes immediately. So you just continue with the writing section. So the others are writing and you're speaking, the only one in the room. Tell me if that is not better than being one of the 1,000 people who are speaking at the same time loudly. It's better to be the one who annoys to the one who is annoyed. All right. So this hack, I think, helped me a lot. And I teach you this because I think it's beneficial and it's a clever manner without even looking at the content. I mean, I'm not even teaching you how to take the exam, but unto this one, I think this is super useful for you because this could save you from the pressure of having to speak with more people, from the distractions of having to speak to people or having to listen to what people speak and say. And it's going to give you more time to relax on your break, because maybe you just, if I didn't tell you this, you would have gone out and you would have just drunk a little bit of water and then you will have come back. But now they have taught you this, I hope you are going to take advantage of it. Okay. Any questions about this hack? Is it understandable what you have to do? Or maybe you want me to clarify something here? It's fine. You understood this?
Yeah, very clear. Actually, it's a good advice, but I think that I'm gonna do the same thing.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucia. Yes, with pleasure. Any other person has any other commentary, any other question here? Something that I did not explain very well here? I can clarify. We're fine.
We're fine. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Miguel. Okay, so if there are no questions, we have finished then with all the general aspects and my personal hack for you. Now, we're going to get into what? Into the different tasks. Of course, we're about to end the class, but nonetheless, I do not want you to go out without looking at the question. Okay, tomorrow we are going to start, of course, but I want you to have a glance to how does the question look like. Now, look at this. Look at my screen. This is a simulator of the exam that we have here in the company. So look at this. In your exam, when you start the speaking section, this is going to be the first task. There's going to be some instructions here. For example, it says, you will now be asked to give your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak, as I have said in advance, right? Now, here you have some, and here you have the topic. So let's read just for you to have a glance. Tomorrow we're going to continue with this because, as I say, we have the entire week for this, but let's continue. Some parents educate their own children at home. Others insist that their children should be sent to school. Which way of learning do you think it's preferable and why? As you can see, this is a traditional question in the exam, okay? In this case, it's about the controversy of homeschooling, right? Some people say it's better to have your children studying at home. You are going to be their professor. You are the one teaching them. And other people prefer to send their children to normal schools, in-person schools, with more students, with more people of their own age. Now, in this case, in the first task, ETS is always going to propose to you a topic for you to take a position. They're going to try to divide the test takers in the exam. Because, of course, in your test center, there are going to be 10, 12 people taking the exam with you. Maybe 5 of them respond, it's better to go, or it's better to have your children studying in an in-person school. And maybe other 6 people are going to say, no, it's better to have your children studying with you at home. So they want to listen to different opinions. And who is going to be the person who will have the highest score here? Was going to be the person who not only expresses his or her opinion clearly, but the one that defends it the best. Okay, that is the idea. You are in the necessity in this task, for the independent task, to express your opinion, to express a position with regard to a topic that is always going to have more or less this let's say this characteristic of dividing people, saying you're going to take this side or this side. You cannot be in the middle, this side or this side. Decide here, black or white. what are you going to be? You have to express your opinion and you have to defend it. That is going to be the first task. It's super simple when you think about it. But as I say, this is what is going to happen. Okay, tomorrow we're going to get into this with way more profundity. We're going to learn how to approach this. We're going to measure the timing. We're going to have more practice. And of course, we're going to begin to practice. Okay, so tomorrow, please make sure that your microphones are available. That is to say that you are going to be able to speak through your microphones, because once we finish the theory, we're going to practice, okay? Because I know that for this particular session, it's a matter of practice, okay? So please, okay, any question about this, or we are fine? Well, remember, tomorrow we're going to have a lot of talked about this. So I think it's for today, that is all you need to know about this. I just wanted you to have a glance to it before we finish the class. Okay, so please don't go. I still have to take your assistance. Remind that these classes have the benefit of getting you, or giving you a certificate after you finish. And in order to do that, I have to take your assistance, of course. So please, while we do that, let me explain this as well to the classmates here, to the ones that were not present yesterday. It's fine. El día de ayer hablamos, I'm going to say in Spanish, well, in English or however you want, but the point is, el día de ayer hablamos de que cada clase al finalizar vamos a tener una encuesta que es anónima, y en esta encuesta se les va a preguntar qué opinaron de la clase, ¿ok? Y ustedes tienen que responder honestamente y sinceramente si les pareció que estuvo bien preparada, si les pareció que han podido entender lo que les he dicho. Okay, as I say, it's an anonymous poll, and I'm going to launch it right now. Please look at your screen, respond it, and please remind that me ayudan muchísimo respondiendo positivamente, ¿ok? Así que por favor respondan a la encuesta while I also take your assistance, ¿ok? So I will call out your name, and if you listen to your name, please say present, ¿ok? Let's start with Coca Guzmán Raiza. Coca Guzmán
Yes.
Raiza.
Sí.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Raiza. Okay, I'm taking your presence. Lucia Aguirre Daza.
Hi, I'm here. Present.
Thank you very much, Lucia. Thank you. What about Álvarez Camila Mancilla? Okay, Camila. Camila's not here. Sergio Andrés Heredia Núñez.
Here, present.
Thank you very much, Sergio. Wonderful. And finally, Rafael Ezequiel Cordero.
I'm here.
Thank you very much, Ezequiel. Okay, there we are, almost full house today. Okay, so thank you very much then for your responses and for your presence, dear students. It's been a pleasure for me to be with you in this first class. This is going to be what we're going to be doing for the following weeks. Tomorrow, please make sure you have your microphone ready to speak. We're going to practice. If you have any question, anything that I can help you with, don't hesitate to get in touch with me through my personal WhatsApp. You have my number there on the group. And also, please, if you have not watched yesterday's class, get into the YouTube channel that is in the description of the WhatsApp group to rewatch the class that we had yesterday. If you want to know more about the general aspects of the exam, what my general recommendations are, how is the exam organized, how are we going to have our classes, please, everything is there, okay? Go to the WhatsApp group in the description. Thank you very much and have a wonderful night, okay? I see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
See you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Good
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
See you
Good
tomorrow.
night. See you tomorrow.
Good night.
Thank you very much, dear student. Bye-bye.